of you, and it's a conversation that I had with a couple of our clients yesterday, and then ended up having a big broader conversation about it in the Engine Room Facebook group last night. And it's about the one true thing in terms of pricing that you can control inside your shop. So let me explain that. When it comes to controlling prices, you don't really have control over at what price you buy your parts, other than who you buy them through. So that's your choice, where you've got multiple supplier options. But at the end of the day, they control the price that they sell it to you for, and then you apply what is hopefully a margin that ensures that you make a profit. Now, on the other side of the coin, we've got labor. And labor, you 100% control what you charge your technicians out at. So you control your labor rate. Now, it's a pretty common thing to see shops who are not charging the labor rate that they're worth. So their technicians are worth a lot more than what they're charging. The shop as a whole is worth a lot more, and it has a big impact on how much profit is left there for the owner. So yesterday I was having this conversation, as I mentioned, with a couple of our clients, and it surprised me to hear where their labor rates were at. So I did a quick exercise with them, and I'm going to do it with you now. So just bear with me for a moment while I change screens. So what I want you to look at is, let's look at last year, 2020. I want you to go into your management software, whichever one you're using, Mechanic Desk, Automation, whichever one. And I want you to pull a report that says how many labor hours you sold for last year. So for the entire calendar year. So I'm going to use a rather conservative, rather low figure here, and say that just for example's sake, we sold 1,500 labor hours, okay? And let's say your labor rate without GST, so whenever we're talking numbers, reporting stats, drop the GST off. It's not your money, so we don't include it. When you talk to the customer, of course, tell them the price including GST. That's fine. But when we're talking business and we're looking at your financials, everything is excluding GST. So we've got $100 an hour that we're saying that your labor rate currently is. So that brings us in revenue for labor, so this is a small business we're talking about here, of $150,000. Okay? Now, had your labor rate been where it should be and at the value that you should be charging yourself out at, last year's exact same result, selling 1,500 hours of labor, but selling it at the minimum of what you're worth here in Australia, of $120 per hour, excluding GST, gives us revenue on the labor side of $180,000. So you can see here that we are up $30,000 in revenue just by that adjustment of your labor rate to where it should be. This is not about you all of a sudden charging more than dealerships. This is about, this makes you average right now across Australia. In New Zealand, I'd love to see you guys get to $100 plus GST. I know in Auckland, a number of our clients are already charging more than that, and a couple in regional areas, but that's really the minimum. There are far too many of you that are still sitting in the 70s, and it's not 1974 anymore. You guys should feel confident. Your technology that you have in the shop, your years of experience, the skill level, and the customer service that you provide dictates that you should be up around $100 for starters. So we've got this extra $30,000 that we just made just because we started charging what we're worth. Okay, now you'll notice that I put revenue here. This is turnover, but when we're talking about labor, the additional $30,000 is also profit. So why is that? Well, because you've already paid all of the expenses that it costs to generate this 1,500 labor hours sold. So all of the additional revenue that you make on labor goes to the bank. Yes, there's some tax to pay on that, but after that, can you imagine, from this 30,000, let's just say, overestimating that you pay tax of $5,000 on that. That leaves $25,000. What could you do with 25 grand? Would that knock over the money you owe to the tax office? Would that pay off some of your equipment finance? Would that get rid of a car loan? If you don't have debts, then that money is available to you as the owner. Now, I've used really conservative figures here. Most of you are going to be selling way more than 1,500 labor hours per year. And a couple of the exercises I did with our clients yesterday, with the changes that they made to their labor rate yesterday, like they literally just went to their invoicing software, their management software, and changed the labor rate. Based on the hours that they sell, they're looking at an extra $100,000 a year. So this is the stuff that changes your life. And at the moment, you're too afraid to do anything about it because you think your customers are going to go somewhere else. So it's a whole different live I can do with you about how you should be showing labor on your invoice so that your customers aren't, saying to you, oh, last time I was here, it was only $100 an hour. Now it's $120. You shouldn't be showing your labor like that in the first place. So as I said, that's a whole other live, but I hope you take away from this that even if this wasn't 120, it was 110, then you would still be looking at $15,000 extra here for no extra effort. It's all reward. Guys, you've got to start charging what you're worth. I hope you found that useful. Let me know in the comments if this triggers you, and I hope it does, to go and change your labor rate. Come back in the comments and tell me that you have, and then have an awesome weekend. Thanks, guys.